Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, the topic given is second canto, chapter 1 to 5. That is the topic given, and I hope nobody will fall asleep listening to this topic because it is all purely philosophy. So you have to be wide awake to grasp whatever is discussed. And Bhagavatam is very merciful. Even if we grasp a drop, it can purify us so much. But still, first canto and second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very philosophical. That is why many people feel, the first I started reading Bhagavatam, but it is not moving only. They say it's not, I'm not, going ahead because it is a lot of philosophy and there are many reasons to it. One is like Prabhupada gave all the purpose in the first canto. Maybe Prabhupada felt, the need of it. So Prabhupada gave the whole life of Lord Chaitanya in the introduction of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam introduction is something like 30-35 pages, and Prabhupada has given the whole life of Lord Chaitanya. And Prabhupada said, I don't know how much time Krishna had given me, so I don't want disciples to miss anything. So he gave the whole Chaitanya, essence in the introduction. And in the first canto of Bhagavatam, whatever Prabhupada wanted to preach, whatever Siddhanta, philosophy Prabhupada wanted to establish, and how Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta is different from others, and what is common, and whatever Prabhupada wanted to establish, he established everything in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, first canto, if we can put our head into it and grasp, and that's wonderful. And actually, the discussion between Shukdev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit starts from second canto only. So, first canto is also setting the scene, like the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is like setting the scene. Why Bhagavad Gita was spoken. In the same way, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam tells all the stories, leelas, and brings it to Parikshit and Shukdev Goswami and why Bhagavatam was spoken. So one aspect of the first canto of Bhagavatam is setting the scene. Why Bhagavatam was spoken between the great King Parikshit and Shukdev Maharaj. Who is Shukdev Maharaj? Who is Parikshit? And what was the situation behind it? All the scene was beautifully set in the first canto. And also the essence of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada very clearly established the Siddhanta, what is love of Godhead, what a sadhaka should try, and what are the different methods to reach God, everything. So first canto is like essence, it is like setting the scene, it is like Prabhupada's Siddhanta, full Siddhanta, everything put together. So the real conversation started in the second canto only. Parikshit is asking questions and Shukdev Goswami is answering. And as Bhagavatam progressed, Parikshit's interest became so sweet. He became so inquisitive. He was asking so many questions. So, Shukdev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj, because your questions are so important, not only for you, the questions are so important for the humanity, and the questions are very, very intelligent questions, and that is inspiring me to speak more and more. And just because of your inquisitiveness, Bhagavatam has become very sweet. And Parikshit is telling, no, Shukdev Maharaj, It is your mercy, your bhakti, your realization, and your great personality had made Bhagavatam very sweet. And Shukdev is telling, no, no, Parikshit, your interest is, in this way, the great speaker and the great listener are appreciating the qualities of Bhagavatam. So, unless we appreciate, we can't understand Bhagavatam. Anything. You respect a relationship in family, the relationship stays forever. You respect money, money will stay with you forever. You respect certain morals, dharma, the dharma will protect us. Whatever we respect Vaishnavas, then Vaishnavas will be with us forever. So whatever you appreciate, that thing will be with us in our life. So that is very simple logic. So here Shukdev Goswami is appreciating Parikshit, and Parikshit Maharaj is appreciating Shukdev Goswami. And in this beautiful way, the second canto of Bhagavatam started. It is very important. Just because of the interest, Bhagavatam has expanded so much. And when 10th canto came, Parikshit has completely forgotten about himself. He forgot that he is going to die within 7 days. In another 2-3 days he will die, because the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, when they started discussing, it was like 4th day. The 4th day they were discussing the 10th canto, and the 10th canto is like a full stories and leelas and the sweet nectarian pastimes of Krishna. Then Parikshit is asking like a baby boy, what happened at the age of 6? What happened at the age of 7? Shukdev Maharaj, you missed that thing in between. What happened here, there? And he was asking so interestingly, like we attend Bhagavatam class, we will be sitting there and wondering when this session will get over, another 10 minutes more, 15 minutes more, see the watch, okay, why the speaker is not finishing. Hope Krishna today nobody asks questions and drag the session. The interest of Parikshit. And Bhagavata, Sukadev Maharaj started speaking as though he had 1,000 mouths. He was going on and on and on. That's why Bhagavatam became very, very sweet. So the second canto of Bhagavatam, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. These 3 chapters are continuous chapters. Okay. Today we are going to see the summary of chapter 1 to chapter 5. Out of that, chapter 1, 2, 3 is a summary about how sweetly Shukdev Maharaj is preaching to Parikshit. I will tell in one line. The beginning of preaching started. Directly Shukdev Maharaj is hitting. No indirect preaching at all. He does indirect preaching so many places in between Bhagavatam. Inside Bhagavatam, he is doing that indirect preaching. How? To Prachina Barhishat Maharaja, Narada Muni. When Prachina Barhishat Narada Muni came to see Prachina Barhishat has kept goats to be chopped in Yajna and Karmakanda, Puja, ritual, this, that. And Narada Muni asked, what is all these things? So Prachina Barhishat wanted to expand his, empire, kingdom, more and more kingdom, more money, more wealth, more name, more fame. So Narada Muni said, my dear king, let me tell you a story. I will tell you a story. Then said, okay, great man, Narada wanted to tell me a story. Okay, Prachina Barhishat very patiently listened. Then Narada started telling a story of Puranjana, one story. Then Prachina Barhishat Maharaj is listening to the story gradually. Then he had a doubt whether Narada is talking about me, indirectly pointing me. This hero of the story, that Puranjana, is very similar to me. Is he really talking about me? Very indirectly. What a wonderful preaching. Polished. Because Prachina Barhishat was a great king, emperor. You can't go and hit him directly. He will say, get out, So Narada Muni very sweetly, polished manner, telling all sorts of things. And Prachina is wondering, okay, looks like the story is about me. Then he surrendered to Narada and said, what do you want to say? Please tell me straight. But to Parikshit, Shukdev Maharaja is not using any tactics because there is no time, only 7 days. What indirect preaching and all can be done? 7 days, and Parikshit was ready for it. He was ready to receive that message. So Parikshit told me, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radokshaje. Tell me that Paro Dharma, what is the highest? I want to know the highest. I don't want to know anything else. Very important lesson. When a great saint comes to our life, when a great acharya, great personality, when they come, listen from them more than talking about ourselves to them. Many times when great personalities come to our house, we will be exhibiting our glories to them. This is my second house I have built, that is my son, and I have this thing, Prabhuji, Maharaj, I am chanting every day, 4 o'clock I get up, I do this, I do that, and we do this, and the sannyasi or the great saint also says, very good, nice, it is all fine. But have we heard that great realized man more than what we spoke? His realizations are very important. Shukdev Maharaj, he will stay in a house. The time which he takes to stay in a house is exactly a farmer taking time to milk a cow. Only that much moment Shukdev Goswami will stay in a house. When a person milks the cow, maybe how much time they will take? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes maximum. Only that much Shukdev Goswami will stay in a house, because that is more than enough for that person to get liberated. That 15 minutes is more than enough. But what to do out of that 15 minutes? We have exhibited our glories to him. What we will hear from him. Very important. Listen to them. And their realized words can penetrate our heart and break the knots of material world. So here Parikshit was ready. He was a qualified listener. He was so ready. So Shukdev Goswami first itself he attacked directly. Satyam Param Dhimahi. The opening statement itself he spoke about Krishna. Simply meditate on that Supreme Lord, he said directly. So here in the second canto, he is telling, the first 3 chapters, he is telling, Krishna is ultimate, supreme. And in the first chapter, he is telling how to meditate on the Virat form. And in the second chapter, he is telling how to meditate on Paramatma. And third chapter, he is telling how to meditate on the Supreme Person. These are the essence of the first, second, and third chapter of second canto. First, he speaks about, gradually he is taking Parikshit to the Supreme Person. First, he spoke about Virata form. Then he spoke about Paramatma. Then third chapter, he speaks about Krishna directly. Right? So let us see how it is. First we go to chapter number 1 of Canto 2. So first, before they begin their conversation, as they said very sweetly, both of them appreciated each other honestly from the heart. That makes a beautiful scene. Like in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna and Arjuna, first Krishna allowed Arjuna to speak everything. One full chapter Arjuna started speaking. Finally he said, Krishna karishe vachanam tava, I am tired, Shishyasteham sadimam tvam prapannam, I surrender to you as your servant. Please instruct me. Arjuna became very tired, talking. Krishna kept quiet. Then Krishna started speaking. But here, Shukdev and Parikshit, they were very, very much eager to speak and very much eager to listen. So they both appreciated each other, and they created a beautiful scenario. That is why whenever we also listen to Bhagavatam class, first the organizers or whomever, they appreciate the speaker, and the speaker very humbly speaks about Krishna and offers at the lotus feet of Guru Parampara and Krishna. In this way, the receiver and the speaker, they create a very beautiful spiritual atmosphere. When Shaunaka Rishi came, Bhagavatam, the conversation of Shaunaka and Suta Goswami and Shaunaka Rishis, that is also Bhagavatam conversation in Naimisharanya. When Suta Goswami, young boy, youngest of all, like Shukadeva Goswami was youngest of all, very young person, both the great speakers, Suta Goswami of Naimisharanya and Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit, both of them were youngest in the whole assembly. And both the young speakers, when they came, the whole assembly got up and appreciated them and received them. And they also came, sat down on Vyasasan and simply glorified the previous Acharyas and Krishna, and they started to speak. So here also the same thing happens. Then Shukdev Goswami is directly glorifying the Supreme Lord before he speaks as a prayer, and Parikshit is listening. Not only Parikshit, so many sages, and out of them there are many impersonal sages also. So Parikshit, Shukdev Goswami is glorifying so that they will also listen. So in this way, Shukdev Goswami beautifully glorified. Then he says, Parikshit, very sweetly he says, in the second canto, first chapter, he says, material life is nothing about wealth and family relation. And the word used by Shukadev Goswami Maharaj is like money and sex. This is all is material life. And we have been entangled in these things for janmas after janma. And what you see is simply the justification of attraction for these two things. What a wonderful statement by Shukdev Goswami. Whatever you see rest is simply a justification of my attachment to these two things. That is all. Shukdev Goswami directly he speaks that. Like when we make a crime, when we commit a mistake, then immediately we keep justifying, so much of justification. Why, Prabhuji, what happened to the papad? It is brown color, the quality of the papad was not there, proper one. No, I put the flame properly, but the other devotee came and increased the flame. I told him to check this, but he did not do it in the right time. We give 101 justification simply to establish that I am not at fault and that is not my mistake. In the same way, whatever we see in this world, my family, my money, my wealth, my time, my job, my this, my that, Shukdev Goswami says it is all simply a justification about my attachment to money and family. That is all. And he said, you have renounced, hey Parikshit, you have renounced all this. This is the most beautiful thing you can do in life. Straight away Shukdev Goswami said, life is all about this. Our deep attachments to wealth and expand wealth, family and expand family, and expecting that very, very meager appreciation from worldly people. I build a house and then invite 100 people and they come and say, Prabhuji, wow, your house is so nice. How is this door? This is from jackfruit tree, and that is from mango tree, and this chandeliers are from Belgium, and this is, wow, Prabhuji, you are amazing. just for that few words. That is what is happening in social media also. We put our picture and says, please like me, begging, please like my picture, just looking for appreciation, and that is all. And Shukdev Goswami says, hey Parikshit, you have given up your family and this great kingdom. Parikshit was throned as an emperor by Yudhishthira Maharaj, and you have just given up this whole thing. Amazing. And you are the right candidate who can surrender to the Supreme Lord. So because you have renounced everything, because only renunciants can understand the essence of Bhagavatam. It is explained in the first canto of Bhagavatam, Mumukshubhihi. Bhagavatam was spoken only for Mumukshubhihi. You see, you can take Bhagavatam book, and in the inside first page you can see the picture. Shukdev Goswami is sitting on Vyasasan, Parikshit is sitting down, and they are talking. There is Vyasa, there is Narada Muni, there are many 16,000 sages are there. Do you see somebody working in oil company there? In a rig, an oil company, gas company, or somebody, or some accountant sitting there? Any children playing around there? Or do you see anybody like a minister or even a king? You will see only sages, munis and muniputras and rishi. It is Prabhupada's amazing blessing that we are able to touch and read Bhagavatam in this lifetime. If Prabhupada wouldn't have did this seva, none of us will be touching Bhagavatam and reading like this. We will be, Asimananda Prabhu will be there in some Kannada Mandali somewhere and singing Friday songs. First song about Ayyappa, second song about Ganesh Ji. We must be doing maybe some social service, maybe some charity, maybe we will all be in goodness mode, but definitely not in spiritual mode. It is Prabhupada's causeless mercy that elderly great personality took pain in distributing Bhagavatam. We are not sages, we are not rishis, we are not munis, we are all attached to money, name, fame. Still we are able to touch Bhagavatam and read, and even though we are not qualified, we can understand what is bhakti. Great mercy of Prabhupada. So you can see Bhagavatam is made for Mumukshubhi. So all the sages and rishis and in that assembly, very humbly Shukdev Goswami said, Parikshit, I am simply repeating what I heard from my father Vyasadeva. And same Vyasadeva is sitting there in the whole assembly. Vyasa is also sitting there. But very humbly Parikshit said, Shukdev Maharaj said, I simply repeat what my great father spoke to me. Right? And he started speaking. And beautiful in the chapter in 2.112, second canto, first chapter, 12th shloka, beautiful. Kim pramattasya bahubihi parokshair hayanairiha varam muhurtam viditam gatate shreyase yataha. Beautiful shloka. Kim pramattasya bahubihi parokshair hayanairi. What is the point of we having hundreds and thousands of years lifetime and simply behind money and worldly pleasure? What is the point in having so much? I'm 80 years old, I'm 90 years, I'm 100, I'm touching 100, I'm crossing, I'm healthy. What is the having a high, parokshair hayanai? Having so many years and simply spending on money and family things. Pramattasya bahubi. Varam muhurtam viditam gatate shreyase yataha. One muhurta is enough if you can simply meditate on the Supreme Lord and your life is successful. And this is what Shukdev Goswami says and starts Bhagavatam. Varam muhurtam. It has so many meanings. Why Shukdev Goswami is saying that? Telling that Parikshit, don't worry. You don't feel that you have got only 7 days. You should not feel bad, right? Suddenly doctor comes and tells me, Prabhuji, you are going to live only for 3 days. That is all. We will panic, we will go crazy, we will start crying, we will go in depression. So, but Parikshit is not that way. But still, Shukdev Goswami is telling, Varam Muhurtam, life, one Muhurta is enough. If you can meditate on the Supreme Lord, your life is successful. Trying to tell Parikshit, don't worry because you are utilizing 7 days. But Parikshit is not in that kind. He is already ready for death. He is ready to face anything. But before death, he wanted to do the topmost. Savai Pumsam, Parodharmo. He just wanted to do the topmost. Then, saying this, Varam Muhurtam Viditam, Gatate Shreyase. The Supreme, if you are connected to the Supreme, one Muhurta is simply enough. Then, he says, and Parikshit is asking, what is that Supreme? Then, goes on. Shukadev is explaining about Virata Roop in the first chapter. Second chapter about Paramatma. Third chapter directly about Supreme Lord. So in the first chapter, he's speaking about Virat. So in this connection, Acharyas are telling a story about Indra meeting a Lomasa Muni. Very strange story. Indra's place is Amaravati. And in Amaravati, Indra is building his big palace, huge palace. So he went and met Narayana, please give me place. We also do that, no? Please name my house, Prabhuji, Maharaj. Please come to my this thing. We also do. There's nothing wrong. We also do that. So Indra also did the same thing. He's building Amaravati, a huge palace in Swarga. His city, Amaravati. And so he built that city and he went to Narayana saying that please name the city, guide me, what to be done, how to build, and all that thing. So Lord Narayana smiled and said, Indra, go and meet a sage called Lomasa Muni. Okay. You meet him, he will tell you how to build your house, palace and Amaravati, everything. So he went to meet that Muni. And the Muni was holding a darba mat, that darba mat which we sit on top of it and perform puja. Darba mat on top of his head. And he is chanting Krishna's name, holding the darba mat on top of his head and chanting. It's a hot sun, he is holding the mat and chanting. And there are so many ants and reptiles crawling around him, sitting somewhere in a jungle and holding the mat and all, right, that, Then first, Indra went and paid pranams and he said, I am Indra, king of heaven, I am king of devas, I am lord of the demigods, I have come for a purpose, oh great sage, please bless me. But I have a question, why are you holding the mat on top of your head? Then Lomasa Muni said, see, this material life is so temporary. I live only for moments, I live only for moments. So what is it? Anyway, I want to protect myself. So this mat is enough, because my friends told me build a hermitage, build a hut, build a house and all. But I am living temporary. So this one tiny mat is enough for me to protect me from sun. So Indra became a little curious and he asked, but you are sitting around all the ants and, reptiles, so many crawling around you. Then the Lomasa Muni said, no, they just teach me how life is temporary. It is like Lomasa Muni indirectly telling Indra, life is so short, why are you worrying building a house there, Amaravati, So, the Lomasa Muni said, no, these ants and reptiles, they are just teaching me how life is so temporary. Then immediately Indra asked, how the ants are teaching you? Then Lomasa Muni said, see, can you see that brown ant that's crawling? In his previous janma, he was Indra. Then Indra was like, what? Can you see that tiny reptile that crawling? That was Surya Chandra in his previous life. So most of them were great demigods, they were so much attached to the material world and now they have taken birth in this material world. How do you know? Then he said, no, I have seen at least 12, 13 Indras in my lifetime. Really? What is your lifespan? Lomasa Muni says, I live for 2, 3 manvantras. he is living for 2-3 manvantaras, seeing so many Indras and Chandra taking birth and dying, still telling my life is temporary, so I am holding a mat on my head, not building the house. Then Indra realized, I came to the wrong person. I'm going to live such a short life, and in that short life, I'm spending all my time building a Amaravati. Sometimes that is true I don't know about devotees from Middle East. In India, it happens. By 40, they start building the house. Feel very sad about them. At the age of 40, they start building the house, and they have bank loan for next 30 years. So 40 plus 30, still 70, he has to pay the bank loan. So at the age of 70, the house becomes his own house. And within 3 months, he dies off. So whole life he has spent in building the house in which he can happily live for 3 months. So this is the temporary nature of this material world. But then, after having the whole conversation with Lomasa Muni, Indra went and built Amaravati. That is another thing. In the same way, we are also reading Bhagavatam, we know all these truths, but we will continue the same life. That is the human nature. It needs a terrific determination to come out of this material entanglement. This is not at all easy. So in this chapter number 1, Canto 2, Shukdev Goswami is explaining about the Virat Roop, and in the next chapter, he is speaking about Paramatma. So in the chapter 2 of 2nd Canto, so first he has explained about Virat Roop, Krishna is everywhere, God is everywhere, God has expanded into fire, earth, air, God's hands are everywhere, head is everywhere, the whole Virat Roop. Then Shukdev Goswami is telling, higher than Virat Roop is the beautiful Lord staying in your heart as Paramatma. And he gives remembrance. He gives, from Bhagavad Gita, there is a shloka, Mattahas Smrutarjnanam Apohanam Cha. He gives memory, he gives remembrance, and he also gives forgetfulness. And somebody can ask, why God has to give forgetfulness? Forgetfulness is a blessing. It is a blessing. Because if we don't forget things in our life, the pain in material world is so severe that we have to commit suicide every day. Thank God we are forgetting. All the backlogs we are forgetting. So forgetfulness is a blessing. So Krishna gives everything. Krishna protects everything. How Paramatma is your best friend. How Paramatma is witnessing everything. In this way Shukdev Goswami glorified Paramatma. And how you can meditate on Paramatma, controlling the body. And he speaks a beautiful thing. A spiritualist means he has to control food and sleep. Very good to Kannaya Desh devotees, because when I came last time, I met many of the Kannaya Desh devotees simply surviving on fruits. Amazing, a great practice. I came back to Kerala, tried it for 3 days. Then I miserably failed. But it's good. Devotees are able to do this kind of tapasya. We don't recommend everybody. It is up to you. It's a private thing. If your body can take it up, you can do. If the body is not able to take it up, then don't try it. It's a personal thing. Anyway, so food and sleep, actually this happened, Guru Maharaj was not sleeping recently, Guru Maharaj always sleeps very less. He goes to bed, even today, goes to bed at 12:30, 1 o'clock, because every day he has the Zoom Yatra. The Zoom Yatra gets over something by, 11, 10:30 night. Then he goes, then everything takes time. By the time Guru Maharaj goes to bed, it's like 12:30, 1:30. Then he wakes up at 4, 4:30, like that. 3-4 hours only he is sleeping. Right? So once, after the stroke, his disciples assistants were little worried and said, Guru Maharaj, you should rest. Guru Maharaj, you should rest. And one day night, Guru Maharaj didn't sleep. If you are there, you can hear in the midnight, the clicker sound is going on. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and if you simply wake up, you will see the clicking sound is going on in the night. Guru Maharaj is chanting. So Guru Maharaj said, I didn't get sleep. Then he asked his assistant to pick up a book and read, some Prabhupada's. I don't know whether it's a book or a tape, something Guru Maharaj asked. And the assistant, I think, played the tape or something or read a book. Then the other assistants came and said, Guru Maharaj, you have to sleep because, it will affect your health. You have to do this, do that. And they were also pushing Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj was also resisting. And suddenly the tape played where Prabhupada is speaking. Prabhupada said, a sannyasi means no sleep. Then Guru Maharaj started laughing, So, a real spiritualist means less food and less sleep. Initially, material people, they love to sleep, even before coming to Krishna consciousness, sleeping means it's kind of a luxury. We all love to eat and sleep. That once we become sleep devotee, it is then controlled sleep and controlled food. Then when we become very serious, attached in spiritual life, then it is less food and less sleep. There are 3 stages. First it is controlled food and sleep, then it becomes less food and less sleep. Okay. So anyway, so here a yogi, they give up food and sleep and they meditate on Paramatma, they control their breathing process, then they do this. And in the 2nd chapter, Shukdev Goswami beautifully explains how a yogi masters his senses, then he masters his breath, then he masters his mind, intelligence, then they are able to move the soul. What an amazing process. The soul is staying in the heart. We are staying in the heart. And the yogis, by their process, by their Ashtanga Marga, they move the soul. What a great power. They move the soul. They move the soul towards the chakras. There are 6 chakras. And bring the soul, between the eyebrows. Then they bring the soul up to their head. And forcefully they send the soul back to Vishnu Loka. What a process. Modern men can never think about all these things. They can never. Yogis were so powerful in those days. Then comes the 3rd chapter. In the 3rd chapter, directly Shukdev Maharaj is speaking about Krishna. Canto 2, chapter 1, he gave explanation of Virat Roop. Then Canto 2, chapter 2, he spoke about Paramatma. Then Canto 2, chapter 3, he is speaking about the Supreme Lord. And in that, Shukdev Goswami directly introduces devotion. When he says Krishna, then he says, no marga like a bhakta can connect to Krishna. Nobody else can connect to Krishna. Neither a yogi nor a jnani. No one can connect to Krishna like bhakta, because his connection is very simple. So in this 3rd chapter, Shukdev Goswami is speaking bhakti in related to human life. This is a different kind of preaching. Very beautifully he is preaching. He is connecting to human body and preaching. He is saying, what is use of eyes which doesn't take darshan of beautiful form of the Lord? Then these eyes are like eyes on the peacock feather. Simply a decoration. It is useless. What is the use of a nose which doesn't smell the flower? What is the use of ear which doesn't regularly listen to the glories of Krishna? It is otherwise simply a receiver of poison. What is the use of? In this way, in this chapter, Shukdev Goswami is beautifully narrating, explaining each and every limb of our body, and if it is not connected with Krishna, what is the use? And while speaking, he makes it so interesting that Parikshit inquisitiveness is increasing more and more and more. Very beautiful preaching, very artistic preaching. How Shukdev Goswami preached is amazing. That too, especially when you see Gopika Geetam and all, poetic, very meter, rhyming, the words, amazing. It is not just a book. If a scholar comes and approaches Bhagavatam, he can appreciate. When a musician comes, he can appreciate. When some other talented people they come, they can also appreciate. All kinds of things are there. If a historian comes, he can also appreciate. If an astrologer or an astronomical person, everybody can relate to Bhagavatam. There is no other book in this world like this kind of. Our Vedic scriptures are amazing. So beautifully so Bhakti also explained in different levels. So here Shukdev Goswami is explaining Bhakti in relation with body. How body is useless when you don't do this, when you don't do this. And he says ears. Ear doesn't have a shutter. Eyes got a shutter. Mouth has got a lips to cover. Ear doesn't have shutter. And ear is the weakest sense in our body. And ear is the most, the sense which worked first and most powerful than all other senses. See, for example, when you compare eye and ear, without sound, you see a picture, somebody stabbing someone. One man is taking a knife and killing another man. You are seeing that image without sound. That creates an effect. Second example, you hear a sound. Somebody is screaming, don't kill me, don't kill me. You are not seeing anything. But you are hearing, don't kill me, don't kill me. And that man says, no, I am going to kill you. And the person is crying and begging and he takes his knife and poking and he's screaming, ah! There are two examples. Which has affected you more? The first vision without a sound or sound without a vision? Which has affected more? Asimananda Prabhu, 1 or 2? First one or the second one? Show your fingers. First one? Second one. Yes, second one. Yes. So the sound, Shabda, that is why Krishna also appeared in this world through sound only. The sound is the most powerful. Shabda Brahman, Shabda Praman. Shabda is very powerful. That's why Krishna also appeared in the form of holy name. So, ear doesn't have a shutter. We should simply hear about Krishna. If we don't hear, automatically other rubbish things will be entering. We can't control. And mind will go behind that. So how beautiful Shukadeva was. And I don't know, people sometimes say those sadhus are all bujis and they don't know anything. They're stupid people. They're not very... Amazing what kind of an explanation these sadhus give. They know everything about this creation. Amazing. I don't think anybody more intelligent than these people. So, in the third chapter, he beautifully connects every limb of our body to Krishna. And in the third chapter, he concludes, Shukadev Goswami concludes, again he says, don't waste your valuable human body simply for wealth, food, and material pleasures. He gives a warning. And that warning is very heavy. Like Vidura told Dhritarashtra. All the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra are dead. Still Dhritarashtra is staying in the palace. Vidura came back after the Kurukshetra battle. Everything, Vidura came back one day and said, Dhritarashtra, look at yourself. Are you a beggar? Don't you have self-respect on you? What are you doing? Because Dhritarashtra always knew Vidura speaks the truth. And Vidura is always my best benefactor. He is my best well-wisher. So, Dhritarashtra will never argue with Vidura. And Vidura says, look at you. All your children are dead. You are blind. You are old. Why are you still hanging on to the palace? Licking at the foot which is thrown by Bhima? What a heavy word he has used, Vidura. Bhima is throwing bones like a dog and you are picking that bone and licking. Is that what you are for? If you have self-respect, just come with me. Pulled him, dragged him out of the house and took him. And there he went and meditated on the Lord and left his body, went back to Vaikuntha. What is a real program. He sent him back to Godhead. So in the same way, here Shukdev Goswami is using heavy words to Parikshit, saying that this body is not meant for making money, wealth, family life and all. You are ready, listen to me, and preparing Parikshit for the essence of Bhagavatam. So these are the summary of the chapter 1, 2, 3 of Bhagavatam, and that is a separate section. And fourth chapter and fifth chapter speaks about creation, the initial creation. So actually that is a continuous different chapters. Okay. Thank you so much.